In this video, we'll learn the basics of how to navigate the Azure portal. And so here you can see we're at the home screen of the Azure portal. The first thing that we're going to do is create a resource group. And you can see the little search bar at the very top. You can type in whatever service you want to work with here and find it in the search results. So I'm just going to click on resource groups. And what we're going to do here is create our first resource group. So we'll just click on the create button here to create a new resource group. And I'm just going to call my resource group Rick Creasy Training. And I'm going to pick a region to create this resource group within. So basically, think of a resource group as a collection of Azure resources. It can have things like virtual machines and databases and storage resources within it. And by grouping them together in a resource group, when I'm done, I could always just delete the resource group to destroy everything in this resource group. This is a really handy feature of Azure because when you're finished with a project, you can just delete the resource group related to it and wipe everything out. So I'm just going to click on the little review and create button here and then click create. And now I've got a resource group that I'm going to use throughout this course. So later on, when I create virtual machines, I'm going to create them inside of this resource group. Okay, so if I want to return to the home screen, I can just click on Microsoft Azure up here at the top left, or I can click on this little hamburger menu and choose home, and it takes me to the same place. And the hamburger menu is a really useful thing here. We can see our favorite services, things that we frequently use, or we can also just click on all services and we can see categories for all the services listed here on the left. So for example, if I want to create a virtual machine, that's going to be under compute. And you can see they're broken down into services that are infrastructure as a service, like virtual machines, or platform as a service, or serverless and microservices. So if I want to create a new function, I can do that here and create a serverless application. And there's all kinds of different categories here. I've got all sorts of different database options and networking. We've got a bunch of options there as well. So that's an easy way to explore all of the services that are available. Now, let's imagine that we are going to create a new virtual machine. Well, we probably want to set up the necessary networking first. And that's going to be one of the things we do in this course is we will go down here to networking and we'll go to virtual networks. And we can click on virtual networks here and create a new virtual network. So these Azure virtual networks, or VNet as they're called, these are private isolated networks within Azure where you can run things like virtual machines and databases. You can define the IP address ranges, and you can set up firewall rules to control the traffic inside of your virtual networks. And as you're getting started with Azure, you might have questions. And a great place to ask those questions is up here using Copilot. So let's click Copilot and let's ask Copilot a couple of questions. Like, for example, if I'm going to create a new virtual machine, do I need to choose a specific region when I do so? Well, let's ask Copilot and see what it comes up with. And this is an AI solution that will come up with the ideal answer for you and give you a nice little summary here of what the answer is. And one of the really cool things about using Copilot within Azure is you can ask it questions about things that you have created. So for example, I could ask it, how many resource groups have I created? And I can send it that question. And it'll look inside of my Azure account and give me answers to those questions. And so you can see right away, it's telling me you've created one resource group. And so that's a really handy feature here. Now let's go back to the home screen by clicking on Microsoft Azure, and let's take a look at my resource groups. And you can see the services that I've frequently been using are shown down here at the bottom, or I could just click on the hamburger menu and I could go to resource groups that way. And so here's the resource group that I've created. I can click on it. I can see what have I actually created in this resource group. Now, right now, I haven't created anything there. But once I start creating virtual machines and things like that, you'll see them all listed here. And if I want to get rid of it, I can always click on Delete Resource Group and wipe out everything inside of that resource group. Another good part of the Azure portal to be aware of is the dashboard. So let's click on the hamburger menu once more, and let's go to the dashboard. And there's some quick starts and tutorials, and we can see some of our resources here once we start creating them. But what I want to look at right now is service health. I want to find out if there are any current outages inside of Azure. And right now, you can see in the region that I've selected here, there's no issues found. I can select all the regions and I can see, are there any outages anywhere in Azure? And right now it looks good. Oh, and by the way, this little Copilot is still up over here. If I want the screen space, if I want to get rid of that, I can just hit the close button here and it'll close Copilot. And one of the things that we can do that might be handy as we continue to work with the Azure portal is to pin key services to this hamburger menu here, to the sidebar menu. So let me show you how to do that. We're just going to go to the sidebar menu. We're going to click All Services. And then let's go to Compute, for example, and find Virtual Machines. And then under Virtual Machines, I can click on the little star here, and the star will add it to that hamburger menu. So let's pick one that isn't currently there. Let's just pick Virtual Machine Scale Sets. And you can see here the star is empty right now, but when I click on it, it turns solid blue. Once I've done that, if I go to my little sidebar menu here, you can see now added to this menu is Virtual Machine Scale Sets. So I can add and remove things to and from this menu, or I can move them around. I can move them up and down, or I can get rid of them if I don't want them in this menu anymore. Like, for example, here I am on Help and Support. I can just scroll over here to this little blue star and deselect it, and then Help and Support will get removed from this menu, right? So I can very easily come in here and pick services that I don't want to see in my sidebar. I can unclick that star and remove them from the sidebar menu so they won't show up there anymore. And we're just going to finish up by going to the home screen here, and a couple other quick options here. Here's where I can access the Cloud Shell. If I want to access the command line interface, I can pick either Bash or PowerShell, and I can execute commands there. So that's how I get to the shell. I can see if there's anything that it wants to tell me here, any notifications, things that I've been deleting or changing, those will all show up here. The settings are here. And in here, I can change things like the appearance. Maybe I want the dark theme to be applied. And so I can choose that option here, or I can discard those changes or go back to light, apply those changes. I can change my language and my region and my personal information here. So I can modify all of those settings right here. And then finally, if I need help, I can request help here. But most of the time, if you have a quick question, this little Copilot option is a great way to get those quick questions answered.